Good evening, all. So, today we are going to discuss very important questions under biology. Let me start with the biology life process. We all know that all living organisms, they need food as they provide us energy. Energy is required to do work. And how the energy is released? We have the food, and that food is subjected for oxidation and reduction, and finally it releases energy, and that energy is utilized to perform the daily life activities. When the energy will be released? Okay, Venuka, you have come here, but you're absent for the school. Why? What's the reason? And Venuka, you didn't submit the assignments also? Huh? If you scale like this, how you're going to submit? You come to the school on Wednesday, submit your assignments, okay? Okay. Where we were now. How the energy will be released? We take the food that will be digested, and finally it is converted into glucose, and that glucose breaks down by the combustion, that is by respiration. Respiration is nothing but combustion. And finally it releases the energy. Abundant of energy will be released in presence of oxygen, and less amount of energy is released in absence of oxygen. In presence of oxygen, 38 ATP of energy will be released by one glucose molecule. During anaerobic conditions, only 2 ATP molecules of energy will be released. Okay, Venuka, you can submit on Wednesday. Okay, listen carefully. These are the important questions, all of you. Listen carefully. Now, during respiration, aerobic respiration, it releases more energy than anaerobic respiration. Now, how we get the food? The plants prepare the food by utilizing certain raw materials like carbon dioxide, water, in presence of sunlight. It synthesizes carbohydrates and release oxygen. This mode of nutrition is called autotrophic mode of nutrition. Autotrophic mode of nutrition in the sense, all green plants can prepare their own food. All green plants, they prepare their own food, and that is called autotrophic nutrition. This could possible by photosynthesis. What does it produce? What does it produce? Yeah, good evening, Priyanka. Okay, all of you reached home. And I think the classes were left soon. It was not late. Okay, the classes were left soon, or it was late? Okay, I'm not getting any reply. Okay, I'll continue with the session because we have to cover complete biology, and if possible we have to touch chemistry also. It takes time. But I'm not clarified whether my voice is audible today. Good. I think now audio is clear. Everybody can hear me. No problem today. Okay. Then I would have sent the link still more early, right? Okay, fine, Vara. Okay. Autotrophic nutrition always done with the help of green plants, photosynthetic bacteria and cyanobacteria. Remember, all green plants, photosynthetic bacteria and cyanobacteria will perform photosynthesis. As a result, they prepare carbohydrates. And that carbohydrates is utilized by the heterotrophs in order to get energy. Now, how the carbohydrates are synthesized? The plants utilize light energy in presence of chlorophyll. Light energy is converted into chemical energy. As a result, the water splits to release hydrogen and oxygen. This is very important. Hydrogen and oxygen is released by the splitting of water. Anyhow, oxygen will be released by splitting of water, but carbon dioxide get reduced to carbohydrates. Remember, carbohydrates are formed by the reduction of carbon dioxide. These two steps are very important. How the oxygen is released? By splitting of water in presence of sunlight. That is by photolysis. Okay, photolysis. How carbohydrates are formed? Carbohydrates are formed when carbon dioxide reduced to carbohydrates. Okay. Now, upper epidermis of the leaf is covered, deposited by the cuticle. What is the importance of cuticle? Cuticle prevents transpiration. It prevents excess loss of water and it prevents decay of the leaf in aquatic plants. It prevents decay, D-E-C-A-Y, decay of the leaf in aquatic plants. Okay, which is the test to find out whether the plants are synthesizing carbohydrates or not? Starch test is conducted because plants prepare the food and that it is stored in form of starch. Hence, starch test is conducted. How the starch test is conducted? By using iodine solution. When we use iodine solution, the part of the leaf where the starch is stored, it converts into black color. That indicates the starch is present. Black or blue, dark blue or black indication. Okay, clear? Okay, Kalpana has gave 3 steps are there in preparing photosynthesis. That is right. That is absorption of sunlight, splitting of water and carbon dioxide is reduced to carbohydrates. I think that is the answer she has given. Okay, all of you clear with these concepts? Okay, then we'll move on to the next concept. And at the lower epidermis, we know that there will be more stomata, and stomata plays very important role in exchange of gases. And stomata is mainly made up of a pair of guard cells and surrounded by subsidiary cells. When there is excess of water in the guard cells and subsidiary cells, the guard cells get swollen up and it gets open. when there is less amount of water in the gut cells, it shrinks and thus stomata get closed. Even the questions may rise on this concept. Okay, I hope everybody cleared with their concept how the stomata closes and opens. What are its uses? Stomata get opens when there is more water. It swells and it opens, and it closes when there is less amount of water in the gut cells. It shrinks and it gets closed. And the importance of stomata is it helps in exchange of gases, and also it helps in transpiration, removing the water vapor from the pores. Okay, and when we come towards heterotrophic nutrition, some organisms, they'll get the nutrition which is converted into simple form in outside the body, and later they absorb it, and those organisms are saprophytes. Saprophytes are the organisms which depend on dead and decay matter, and they absorb the simple food from outside the body. They are not autotrophs, they are heterotrophs. They depend on dead and decay matter. And there are other category called parasites. The parasites are the organisms which depend on other organisms. That too, they depend only on the living organisms, and when they draw the nutrition from the other living organisms, the host will become very weak. Sometimes the host will also get infected by the parasites. Parasites are the organisms completely depending on other living organisms. Example, dodder plant, cuscuta, liver fluke, tapeworm. Two examples from plants and two examples from animals. Okay, and other type of heterotrophic mode of nutrition is Holozoic mode of nutrition, where we find in human beings. They have very complicated digestive system with differentiating organs, and digestive mechanism will be conducted in Holozoic mode of nutrition, that is in the ingestion, digestion and egestion. These are the three steps takes place in Holozoic mode of nutrition. Ingestion, digestion and egestion. These three steps takes place in Holozoic mode of nutrition. Epiphytes are the plants which depend on other plants not for the food but for the shelter. They are the aerial plants which they grow on other plants, but they can prepare the food by photosynthesis, but they hang on other trees as they absorb the water not from the soil, they absorb from the atmosphere. How they absorb from the atmosphere? Atmospheric moisture will be directly absorbed by the epiphytic roots, and this could possible by a specialized tissue called velamen tissue. Okay, clear? Okay, if it is cleared, Holozoic mode of nutrition, very important concepts. What the questions are going to ask is how the digestion takes place in the mouth. By chewing, salivary get juice is mixed, and partial digestion takes place by converting the starch into maltose by the enzyme called salivary amylase. Then the food converts into bolus, enters inside the esophagus, and how the food get moved in esophagus? By the process called, yes, peristaltic movement. And then food enters into stomach. And very important concepts in the stomach are the mucus glands present in outermost layer secretes mucus which prevent ulcers, and usually ulcers are formed by the acid produced in the stomach, and that is HCl, hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid synthesized inside the stomach, and that creates ulcers, and that could be prevented by mucus secreted by mucus glands. And when HCl is secreted, the food medium is converted into acidic medium. When the food is converted into acidic medium, then pepsin and renin are synthesized in acidic medium. What is the function of pepsin? It digests the proteins. And what is the function of renin? It converts the milk into insoluble curds. Yeah, Kitty answered peristaltic movement, that is movement of the food in the esophagus. And after the digestion takes place in the stomach, the food, as soon it enters outside the stomach, there will be sphincter muscle, so that the food should not overflow from the stomach. So it will allow the food in a limited way by controlling the sphincter muscle at the base of the stomach. And the liver secretes bile juice, and the bile juice converts the acidic food into alkaline. This may ask in your exam. Okay, cleared? Now the bile juice makes the acidic food into alkaline. And what is the function of bile juice? It brings emulsification of fat. It digests the fat. How it will digest the fat? It converts the large fat globules into small fat globules. And then the pancreas secretes the pancreatic juice and also pancreatic hormones. The pancreatic juice, rich with trypsin, digests the proteins. Pancreatic juice, rich in lipase, again it digests the fats. Other than this, peptidase, polypeptidase, dipeptidase are found, and these helps in digestion of proteins. And then the food enters into small intestine, which is the largest part of alimentary canal. Which is the largest part of alimentary canal? Which is the largest part of alimentary canal? Yes, small intestine. Yes, Priyanka, it's small intestine. Small intestine is considered to be largest part of alimentary canal, and also small intestine is considered to be the place where the complete digestion takes place. Small intestine has a very peculiar structures called villi. These are finger-like structures. Finally, it absorbs the finally digested food, and that allowed to enter into bloodstream, and thus now the final simple food, glucose, present in the bloodstream. And the bloodstream carries the food to each and every cell, and that glucose breaks down in presence of oxygen by the process called respiration. And what is respiration then? Breaking up of glucose into carbon dioxide and water with enormous of energy is called aerobic respiration. Breaking of glucose in absence of oxygen to form ethanol in the yeast, and sometimes it forms lactic acid in the muscles. All these process releases less amount of energy. And under digestion, the questions may ask like this: why the herbivores has a very large small intestine compared to the carnivorous animals like tiger and lion? Very simple. The herbivores want to digest cellulose. Cellulose digestion takes place in presence of cellulase enzyme that is found only in the herbivorous animals, and it takes a very long time to digest. Hence, the herbivores has very long small intestine. And why it is not found in carnivores? Carnivores don't have cellulase to digest cellulose, and they have enzymes to digest the meat. Hence, they are flesh eaters. Clear? This is the application question they are going to ask. Is that clear? Okay, should I repeat once again? Herbivorous small intestine is very long because they want to digest cellulose. Carnivorous small intestine is very small. They don't digest cellulose. They have enzymes to digest meat. Okay. Then, regarding respiration, they ask on aerobic and anaerobic, which will provide more energy and which will provide less energy, and where actually the glucose converts into pyruvate, that is in cytoplasm, and where the pyruvate converts into carbon dioxide and water, it is in mitochondria. 2 points should be remembered. Glucose converts into pyruvate in cytoplasm. Pyruvate converts into carbon dioxide and water in mitochondria. And the important question here: why the aquatic animals breathe faster than the terrestrial animals? Very simple. The aquatic animals get very limited dissolved oxygen in the water, hence they breathe faster. Terrestrial animals breathe very slow because they will get abundant of oxygen from the atmosphere, hence they breathe very slow. Okay, these are the questions arised from the respiration. Other than that, in the respiration, very important concept, which is an pigment which carry the oxygen, that is hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the pigment which carries oxygen. And the questions may asked based on the diagram. The respiratory system has nasal cavity, and it has trachea and larynx, and larynx is considered to be voice box. Larynx is covered by epiglottis. Epiglottis vibration makes the sound, and it protects the entry of water and food into the trachea. So larynx covered by epiglottis, this is very important. It avoids the entry of water and food into trachea. Trachea is made up of C-shaped cartilaginous bones, and this is connected to bronchi. Two branches called bronchi, and bronchi divides into bronchioles, and bronchioles ends with air sacs, and air sac is called alveoli. Just below to the respiratory organ, that is lungs, Good evening, Sahana. So late. I don't know why. Just now you reached. It was so late. Okay, fine. We were discussing about respiratory system. So just below to the lungs, there will be a differentiating organ called diaphragm. Diaphragm, during inspiration, it will push up. During expiration, during inspiration, the diaphragm will be flattened. During inspiration means when we take oxygen, the diaphragm gets flattened. It comes to the straight position. While expelling the carbon dioxide, during expiration, the diaphragm moves upward. It moves upward. When do diaphragm move upward? During expiration. When the diaphragm becomes flattened? During inspiration. And how the lungs are protected? Lungs are protected by rib cage. Okay. Now, which were the respiratory organs? A pair of lungs. Clear? Why? It's not audible now? Having problem with my audio? Can't you hear me? Yeah, some people, they were cleared with the concepts. They are hearing me, and few were not audible. I don't know why. But I have the good network. Yeah, many of them they cleared, and they are having no problem with my audio. Only few, one or two having the problem. You please try to sit in a place where there is good network. Only that is the solution. Okay. Next, very important thing is the questions may asked on transportation. How do animals transport the food, oxygen and waste materials? It is through the blood. Blood consists of a fluid called plasma. The transport system consists of fluid called blood. Don't get confused. The transport system consists the fluid called blood. The blood consists the fluid called plasma. So many of you all got confused here. If I asked the fluid, few will answer plasma. Don't get mistaken. The transport system have the fluid called blood. The blood has the fluid called plasma. Okay, clear? Along with the plasma, the blood has blood cells. That is, red blood corpuscles, white blood corpuscles, and platelets. And we all know that red blood corpuscles carries oxygen and carbon dioxide and waste materials. WBC helps in defense mechanism and brings immunity. Platelets helps in clotting of blood. This is about blood. And in the transport system of animals, there will be another pumping organ called heart. Heart carries pure blood, impure blood, and sometimes mixed blood. In fishes, amphibians, reptiles, all these three categories carries impure blood. Birds and mammals carries pure blood. And why this variation is found in fishes, in amphibians, in reptiles, they carry the impure blood or mixed blood as they are poikilothermic. Poikilothermic in the sense cold-blooded animals. They can change their body temperature as per requirement according to the environment. Hence they change their body temperature. They doesn't require pure blood. Mixed blood is sufficient for them. And in the birds and in the mammals, they are homeothermic or they are warm-blooded animals. They require very pure blood in order to maintain constant body temperature. Hence, the pumping organ, heart, will help in pumping the blood. In the fishes, it pumps only once, hence it is called single circulation. But in mammals and birds, it circulates twice, hence it is called double circulation. And what is double circulation? The heart pumps twice in order to complete one cycle, that is systemic circulation and pulmonary circulation. Systemic circulation and pulmonary circulation, these are the two cycles happens to complete one cycle of heart functioning, that is systemic circulation and pulmonary circulation. These two found in one cycle, hence it is called double circulation. Which is the device used to measure the blood pressure? It is sphygmomanometer. Sphygmomanometer is the device used to measure a blood pressure. What is blood pressure? The force that blood exerts against the wall of the vessel. The force that blood exerts against the wall of the vessel is called blood pressure. And this is taken in account in two ways, that is systolic pressure, diastolic pressure. What is systolic pressure? It is contraction, pressing up. Contraction is called systolic pressure. And what is diastole? Diastolic pressure is relaxation. It is relaxation. And what is the normal systolic pressure? It is normal systolic pressure is 120 mm of Hg. Hg means mercury. This is systole. And what is diastolic pressure? Diastolic pressure is 80 mm of mercury. 80 mm of Hg. The highest number 120 by 80. 120 by 80 is the normal reading. 120 is systolic, 80 is diastolic. Is that clear? Is that clear, all of you? Okay, fine. If it is clear, we'll move on to the next concept. That is blood vessels. There are three types of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. The blood emerges from the heart with high pressure, and hence the arteries want to carry the pure blood. They are having thick wall and elastic walls. The blood pumps with high pressure. The blood emerges out from the heart with high pressure, and arteries want to carry the blood, and hence the arteries wall is very thick and elastic. And veins, these are the blood vessels which collects the impure blood from different organs and bring back to the heart. And capillaries are the one cell thickness cells. This connects between arteries to veins and connects to individual cell and helps in exchange of material between blood and surrounding. Hence, arteries, veins, and capillaries perform their function in transporting the oxygen and collecting back the carbon dioxide. And the next, transportation in plants. How the transportation in plants takes place? It is by xylem and phloem. It is by xylem and phloem. Xylem conducts water, phloem conducts food. And how the xylem conducts the water? There will be difference in concentration of ions between the root and the soil. This variation in the concentration of ions helps to move the water molecules from soil to the root. This is how the water enters inside the root system from the soil. That is, variation in the concentration of ions. And the other one is by transpiration pull. How the transpiration pull is created? The transpiration is loss of the water in a form of water vapor. As a result, pressure is created, suction force is created, and this suction force makes the xylem vessels to have a continuous channel of water, and hence a transpiration pull is created and the water starts moving from the root system to the shoot system. This is how the water is conducted or water is transported in the plants. And next concept is the transport of food and other substances. How the transport of food and other substances takes place? The transport of soluble products of photosynthesis is called translocation. How it is transported? It is transported through the phloem tissue in a form called sucrose. It transports in a sucrose form, that too with the help of phloem tissue. In order to transport the food through the phloem tissue, it requires energy. And how the energy is obtained? The energy is obtained from ATP. The energy is obtained from ATP. And thus, phloem conducts the food from the leaf to other parts of the plant. Okay, this about transport system. And next concept is excretion. What is excretion? Removal of nitrogenous waste in a form of ammonia, urea, uric acid. These are the three different forms of nitrogenous waste. Where you find the ammonia? In the fishes. Fishes remove the nitrogenous waste in a form of ammonia. Where you find uric acid among the birds? Birds remove the nitrogenous waste in a form called uric acid. And where urea is formed? In human beings and higher advanced animals. Urea is converted into urine and it is discarded from the body. In order to excrete the urine or nitrogenous waste, the excretory system has a pair of kidneys connected to ureters. Ureters are connected to urinary bladder, and finally urethra. The kidney has a structural functional unit called nephrons. Nephron has Bowman's capsule with a glomerulus where the glomerular filtration takes place and it enters inside the proximal and distal convoluted tubule where tubular reabsorption and secretion takes place, and finally the urine is collected in collecting duct or collecting tubule which is connected at the base of the kidney and it is connected to ureters. Thus, urine is removed from the kidney to ureters. Finally, it is stored in urinary bladder. About 350 ml of urine is stored in urinary bladder and finally thrown out through the urethra. And the people who is suffering from kidney stones and where the kidney failures, so for them there is a treatment called small surgeries, and with injection the kidney stones are broken down. And artificial kidney, that is hemodialysis, is done for the kidney failure people, where the purification of done and again re-entered into the body. And dialysis, it's quite costly and it is expensive treatment where it is done to the people suffering from kidney failures. And finally, excretion in plants. Many plants remove their waste by falling of the leaves, falling of the fruits, falling of the petioles, falling of the flowers. And in some places, some plants, they store the waste in leaves and in the vacuoles, cellular vacuoles, and they stored in the plants in a form of resins and gums, and even they also store in old xylems. Like this, the plants remove the excretory materials. This is how the different type of life process we come across both in plants and animals. If anything to be clarified in this chapter, please have your doubt. Okay, fine. If there is no doubts, we'll move on to the next lesson under biology. That is control and coordination. Nervous system plays a major role in control and coordination among the animals. The nervous system has a structural functional unit called neuron. Neuron helps in bringing up irritability. That is, for every stimulus, there will be bond to form with the response. Stimulus-response bond is called irritability. And how this irritability helps in carrying the message. Now, all sense organs senses and that information is transferred to the neurons. Neurons carry the information in a form called electrical impulse. It reaches the brain and brain responds for the stimulus, and finally the response reaches to the muscles or to the glands, to the glands. This is how irritability is carried out among the animals. And we all know that the neuron plays a major role. The neuron has dendrite, small branches, and has nucleus, cell body, axon covered by myelin sheath, and nerve endings. The information is collected from dendrite to cell body and then passes to axon and reaches the nerve ending, and it takes a jump. It takes the jump to the another neuron at a gap called synapse. Then what is synapse? Synapse is a gap between two neurons. A synapse is gap between two neurons, and where actually the electrical impulse convert into chemical impulse, and it jumps to the dendrite of another neuron, and same procedure continues. Okay, cleared? Okay, next concept is how the spinal cord and human brain take part in control and coordination. Spinal cord involved in reflex action, and the path of the reflex action is called reflex arc. Reflex action is sudden involuntary action of spinal cord. When we touch hot plate, when a thorn is picked in your body, and sudden decision where you feel very feared during that time, so the spinal cord immediately takes the decision in a form called reflex action through the path called reflex arc. And very important thing is human brain. Human brain is very important, which weighs about 1400 grams, and it is very important to control all parts of the body. And usually the brain receives the stimulus from the sense organs, and it processes, and finally it gives response to the muscles or glands. So the brain is divided into forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Forebrain has a largest part called cerebrum. Cerebrum helps in thinking, reasoning, and almost all sense organs receives and sends to the cerebrum. And reasoning capacity, imagination, all it is connected to the cerebrum. So cerebrum is the largest part of the brain and very important part of the brain. And in the midbrain we have hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a part where it controls appetite and water balance. The appetite, the feeling of hunger, feeling of thirsty, and having the food at the right time, right? All this takes place by the hypothalamus. And even the ADH hormone, which helps in controlling the water level in our body, is also secreted by hypothalamus, ADH. And the people who cannot control the water, or water balance is not controlled in human beings, they are suffering from a disease called diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus, not mellitus. If the people are suffering from the deficiency of ADH hormone, then it is called diabetes insipidus. Water balancing is not controlled, then they are having the problem diabetes insipidus, which comes under ADH hormone. Remember, this will be asked for your exam. And hypothalamus, appetite, hunger, and water balance will be controlled. And the hindbrain has cerebellum, pons, and medulla oblongata. Now we do perform different activities like walking, running, cycling, right? And sitting straight, keeping our backbone straight. So these are controlled by the hindbrain part called cerebellum. Cerebellum controls the postures and body balance. And there is pons. Pons is very important to show the mastication and facial expressions. The pons shows mastication and facial expressions. And finally, hindbrain has one more part called medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata, which involve with the involuntary actions and also with vomiting and salivation, and also controlling the blood pressure, involuntary actions. This could be controlled by medulla oblongata. Vomiting, swallowing, blood pressure will be controlled by medulla oblongata. And how the nervous system perform the action? Now, sense organs carry the stimulus through the neurons to the brain, and they carry the response through the nerves to the muscles or the glands. Now, each muscle cell have special proteins, and when response reaches to these muscles, it reaches to the special proteins, and these special proteins change their shape, that is by constriction or relaxation, and thus the movement of the muscles, relaxing of the muscles takes place by changing the shape of the muscular cells, and this is done with special proteins. And how the special proteins got activated? The special proteins got activated by the response given by the brain. Okay, today is good network, but the students' presence is very bad, right? Funny surprise toys. Thanks for your wishes. Thank you. Wish you the same. And Kalpana is saying that the voice is not audible. What happened to the Kalpana? Maybe look at your data. Data has come to an end. Maybe those people having the problem. Okay. If it is clear, shall we move on to the next concept? Coordination in plants. Okay. Next concept is coordination in plants. Like animals have the nervous system, the plants have phytohormones to control and coordinate among the plants. Now, how the control and coordination takes place in the plants? Through two ways: nastic movements and trophic movements. Nastic movements are the movements they don't show any growth. Trophic movements are the movements, along with that they show growth and development. Now what is the example for nastic movements? Touch me not plant. When you touch the plant, it folds, but there is no growth in that. There is no development. Such movement is called nastic movements. It doesn't show any growth. Whereas trophic movements, that is phototrophism, geotrophism, hydrotrophism, chemotrophism, trichotrophism, all these are the trophic movements which definitely show the growth. Now, the next question is how the plants in touch me not plant folds when we touch the leaf. When we touch the leaf in touch me not plant, the plant cells change their shape by changing the amount of water in them, by swelling or shrinking. If they lose the water, they'll get folded. If they swell the cells by absorbing the water, the plant leaves get opens. This is how the changing of folding and opening in Mimosapodica. Mimosapodica is the scientific name of touch me not plant. Is that clear? Because today I am not sharing the screen, I think many of you all got bored. Are you all boring with only with audio and no vision, no visuals? Okay, fine. If you are not boring, I'll continue. Now I told trophic movements. Which were the different trophic movements? Phototrophism. The shoot always responds towards the sunlight. This is called phototrophism. And this is called positive phototrophism. And there are certain parts of the plant which shows negative phototrophism. That is root. Root is not towards the light, it is away from the light. Hence, the root shows negative phototrophism, shoot shows positive phototrophism. And the next one is hydrotrophism, towards the water. Roots shows positive hydrotrophism, shoots shows negative hydrotrophism. Next, stigmotrophism, response to the touch. All the tendrils, climbers, vines shows stigmotrophism, response to the touch. When they have a very clear contacting surface, they'll stick to the surface and they'll climb the trees or trellis. And this is called stigmotrophism. And one more is chemotrophism, response to the chemicals. So, the development of pollen tube towards the ovules. Stigmotrophism example, the development of pollen tube towards the ovules is chemotrophism, responding towards the chemicals. And this is how all these trophic movements shows growth. All trophic movements will show growth. And other than this, we have phytohormones, that is differentiated into two types, that is growth promoting hormones, growth inhibiting hormones. Axin. Axin. The chemical name is indole 3-acetic acid. I'll repeat. Axin, commonly called as indole 3-acetic acid. And one more. NAA. This is synthetic. It is not natural one. This is synthetic one like axin. What is NAA? Naphthalene acetic acid. Naphthalene acetic acid. These two helps in growth of the plant. They found at the tips and helps in the growth of the plant and enlargement of the plant. There is one more phytohormone called gibberellin. Gibberellin breaks the dwarfness. It breaks the rosette form. It increases the length of the internode. It makes the plant to grow very tall. When you spray the gibberellin on a cabbage, the cabbage can grow longer than your building. Okay? So, gibberellin helps in cell elongation, internode elongation and development of the plant. Cytokinin. This is also growth promoting hormone, helps in cell division. A continuous cell division is occurred by the cytokinin. These are the plant hormones, helps in growth. And there are two other hormones called growth inhibiting hormones. What are growth inhibiting hormones? Ethylene and abscisic acid. Ethylene and abscisic acid. These are the two growth inhibiting hormone. But ethylene is a gaseous hormone which helps in ripening of the fruits. Abscisic acid doesn't help in growth. It brings stunted growth. Okay, this about hormones, phytohormones, plant hormones. And next concept is hormones in animals. Animals has glands and glands secretes the hormones and hormones directly flown into bloodstream. Hence, they are called endocrine glands, ductless glands. Endocrine glands or ductless glands. Now, which were the different hormones we come across in human beings? Human brain has pineal gland. Pineal gland is found in brain, which helps in a sleeping cycle. That is when to sleep, when to wake up. It is maintained by pineal gland. At the base of pineal gland, we have pituitary gland. Pituitary gland helps in growth, secreting growth hormone. When the pituitary gland secretes moderately during puberty, when attains maturity among the adolescent boys and girls, pituitary, if it secretes normally, the height and weight will be normal. But if it secretes more, it leads to gigantism. When it secretes less, it leads to dwarfism. Hence, it is called growth hormone. And even pituitary gland is considered to be master gland, as it controls all other glands. And there is one more hormone in the brain, that is hypothalamus. Hypothalamus controls appetite and water balance. So this is the glands which are found in the brain. And at the neck region we have thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is considered to be personality, secretes an hormone thyroxine. It secretes thyroxine. Thyroxine is considered to be personality hormone. Thyroxine is considered to be personality hormone. And this personality hormone controls the metabolism of fat, protein and carbohydrates. Thyroxine regulates the metabolism of fat, protein and carbohydrates. And within the thyroid gland there is embedded gland. that is parathyroid. The question may ask, which is the gland which is embedded in another gland? That is parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland embedded in thyroid gland, and this controls calcium ions. If it is excess or if it is deficiency, the smoothing of the bones, the muscle, bone cramps are the result of irregular control of parathyroid gland. And next is, just below that, thymus glands is found, and above the kidneys there are adrenal glands secretes adrenaline. Adrenaline is considered to be emergency hormone as it controls emergency situations like fear, anxiety, sorrow, excitement, etc. And during these critical conditions, adrenaline secretes in higher amount and it increases the heartbeat and thus indirectly controls the emergency situations. And hence, adrenaline is considered to be emergency hormone. And next is pancreas. Pancreas is a dual gland, both endocrine and exocrine. It is called endocrine gland because it secretes hormones called insulin and glucagon. Insulin, which controls the glucose level in the blood by converting the glucose into glycogen. I'll repeat. Insulin controls the sugar level in the blood. How? It converts excess glucose into glycogen. Okay. And the other one is glucagon. Glucagon during fasting and hunger, it converts the stored glycogen into glucose, quite opposite to the insulin. This is how the insulin and glucagon takes a role in pancreas. And the males have testes, females have ovary. These are the two gonads and helps in secretion of the hormones, like testis secretes testosterone, which decides the secondary sexual characters among the boys, like development of the beard, mustache, cracking of the voice, double voice, all this because of testosterone. Among the females, the ovary secretes two kinds of hormones, that is progesterone and estrogen. Progesterone is secreted during pregnancy. Estrogen is secreted during menstruation cycle. Estrogen shortage and imbalance of the estrogen can also bring sterility among the women, married women. This is how the gonads, testes and ovaries present both in male, that is testes in male and ovary in the female, perform their regular activities. Okay, this about different kinds of hormones. And there is, I told, hypothalamus secretes releasing hormone. Releasing hormone stimulates the pituitary gland to release pituitary hormones. Okay, how the hypothalamus is considered to be master of master gland? The master of master gland, that is hypothalamus, secretes releasing hormones, and these releasing hormones stimulates pituitary gland to release pituitary hormones. Okay, this completes control and coordination. Okay, is there anything to be clarified here? Please quote your doubts. If not, we'll go for another lesson Under biology, that is our environment. Any questions to be clarified? Okay, if there is no doubts, I'll move on to the next lesson, our environment. In our environment, we have to know what is ecosystem and what is environment. Environment is which is surrounded to us, both biotic and abiotic factors which surround us is known as environment. And what is ecosystem? A continuous interaction between abiotic and biotic factors is called ecosystem. And what are biotic components? All living organisms are called biotic components. What are living organisms? Plants, animal, microbes. And abiotic components are non-living components. That is temperature, rainfall, wind, soil, minerals. And in the environment, we have two types of ecosystem, that is natural ecosystem and artificial ecosystem. The garden in front of your home and the crop fields, aquariums, all these are the artificial ecosystem. And what are natural ecosystem? Forest, pond, lake, grassland. All these are the natural ecosystem. Okay. Now, you should have the variation between artificial, that is man-made ecosystem, and natural ecosystem. It may be given for odd one out. And biotic factors can be characterized as producers, consumers, and decomposers. Producers are all the green plants prepare the food. Consumers are all heterotrophs depends on producers, and sometimes they may depend on consumers itself. After the death of plants and animals, they are subjected for decomposing, and that could possible by decomposers. Decomposers are the scavengers. They remove the dirt from the environment, and they are fungi and bacteria. Okay? Cleared? These are the simple concepts you all learned in 8th standard. Okay, then the simple concepts like food chain, food webs. What is food chain? The food chain is the link between the producers to consumers, consumers to decomposers. A series of organisms feeding on one another. That is from producers to consumers, consumers to decomposers. If you look at these three trophic levels, one is depending on another. A series of organisms feeding on other type, and that is known as food chain. Once the food chains are interconnected, then it is called food web. Now the food chain starts from the producers. All green plants prepare the food by photosynthesis. Now what is the percentage of sunlight? It is 1% of sunlight is used for photosynthesis. Now, how the energy transfers from producers to consumers? Producers, all green plants prepare the food by photosynthesis by utilizing 1% of solar energy, and that enters into herbivores. The plant eaters are herbivores. Now herbivores are called as primary consumers. Now these herbivores, now grasshopper which feeds on grass, this is primary consumer. Primary consumers become food for secondary consumers. Example, frog. Frog will eat grasshopper. These depending on primary consumers. And the next step is tertiary consumers. Tertiary consumers are depending on secondary consumers. The snakes eats frogs. This comes under tertiary. Now, how much percent of energy get transferred from one traffic level to another traffic level? It is 10%. If producers has 10,000 kilocalories, then only 10% will passes. That is, from 1000 kilocalories, only 100 kilocalories moves to the primary consumers. And from the primary consumers, it is only 10 kilocalories moves to the secondary consumers. And from secondary consumers to tertiary, it is only 1% move to the 1 kilocalorie move to the tertiary consumers. Okay, you just calculate 10%. From 1000 to 100, 100 to 10, 10 to 1. From 1 lakh to 10,000, 10,000 to 1,000, 1,000 to 100. From whichever number, you just remove one zero. You just remove one zero for each traffic level. That could be the answer. Okay? All of you cleared with 10% law? Okay, shall we move on to next concept? Okay, till now we studied about food chain, food web, and 1% law, 10% law. Okay, and now how the activities affects the environment. Ozone. What is the formula of ozone? O3. And O3 is found in stratosphere. It is found in stratosphere. Ozone is found in stratosphere. How it protects the organisms present on Earth? They protects as a shield from UV radiations. They protect as a shield from UV radiation. And there is a chemical called CFC, chlorofluorocarbon. It is released from refrigerators, fire extinguishers, and these 1 CFC can damage 1 lakh molecule of ozone molecules. Such a severe damage it is created from the CFCs, and now very strict restrictions has been done by UNIF, that is United Nations Environment Program. In 1987 it came into existence. UNIF, United Nations Environment Program. Now they brought a mandatory rules. We have to use only CFC free refrigerators throughout the world. As a result, CFC got reduced, and now already ozone hole was formed at Antarctica region. The hole is formed at the cool region as CFC will become more active at the cooler places like refrigerators. cool places like Arctic, Antarctic regions. It has created a hole in Antarctica, and now it is almost being covered, okay, because we already reduced CFCs. And next concept we have to know is, now India produces a 6 kg of garbage per head. So how to remove this garbage? So first thing, we have to separate degradable and non-degradable waste. Degradable, you just recycle it and it can be used as a compost. Non-degradable waste like plastic and electronic gadgets, it should be recycled. Plastic easily recycled, and even the metals, the steel, copper, aluminium easily recycled. Containers easily can be recycled. The plastic disposals, the plastic covers, plastic bags, even that can be recycled. So thus we can give a very clean environment. And what are degradable waste? Degradable waste are the bio waste. Easily it can be degraded by microorganisms. Example, sewage, vegetable waste. And non-degradable waste are the waste which easily cannot be degraded by the microorganisms. That is plastic, DDT, and other toxic chemicals which can retain in the environment for many years without undergoing decomposition by the microbes. So we have to avoid non-degradable materials. Just avoid using plastic disposals, okay, and avoid using DDT powder, which are very toxic to the environment. Okay, this completes biology of first semester. Complete first semester biology has been completed. Subliminal radio. Thanks for visit and thanks for wishes and very good evening. Thank you. Okay, just we completed one semester biology and one more semester biology is left. Shall we end or shall we continue? Okay, shall I continue tomorrow? But today network is good, not bad. We have good network today and even morning too we have. But the thing is, tomorrow all we cannot complete, right? Okay, fine. Now, I'll continue with how do organisms reproduce. We all know that a very special unique feature is replication. The living organisms have the capacity to replicate, to make double or triple of their species. Now human beings, after the marriage, they have the children, that is replication. The amoeba, after cell division, it divides into 2 divides into 4, that is also replication. And this could possible only in the living organisms, but in different manner, that is asexual manner, sexual manner, and in vegetative propagation. Different modes of ways are there to replicate the species. Anyhow, in the replication, very important concept we have to know is, so in almost all organisms, while replication, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, get replicated. Deoxyribonucleic acid get replicated. So, one cell divides into 2 daughter cells. Either it is asexual way or sexual way or vegetative propagation way. Anyhow, the species number goes on increasing. Now, how the DNA get duplicated? The DNA get duplicated by DNA copying. DNA replication. Both are correct. DNA copying or DNA replication. During DNA replication, the DNA becomes double of same type, and thus it transfers to 2 cells or it transfers to 4 cells, and thus same organisms will be having same DNA, but it arises from the parent cell, right? And if the replication takes place by sexual reproduction, it leads to variation. And how the variation takes place? During cell division, during prophase 1, crossing over takes place. During crossing over, some of the content from the maternal chromosome and some of the content from paternal chromosome, that is mother chromosome and father chromosome, they just it get exchanged. As a result, you find a chromosome with variation, and that variation is very important in order to find very developed generation. But this is not found in asexual reproduction. Single-celled organisms undergo asexual reproduction where there is no chance of variation. Asexual reproduction is fusion of spores. Sexual reproduction is fusion of gametes. And asexual, it is development of the offspring of the same type, identical type of new organism is known as asexual. New organism is developed, but it is same as the parent one. No changes. That is asexual mode. Now, how the reproduction is found in single-celled organism? In single-celled organism, it undergo by fission. What is fission? One cell divides into 2 cells, or one cell divides into many cells. Now, let me know binary fission. Binary fission is found in amoeba, leishmania, where single cell develop into 2 cells. How the cell division takes place? First, division of cytoplasm, division of nucleus, and the formation of membrane. And finally, 2 cells get separate. And multiple fission. In Plasmodium, during unfavorable condition, it is completely covered by the cyst. Within the cell, it starts developing, dividing, and it divides into a number of bits, and each bit develop into a new organism. That is known as multiple fission, found in Plasmodium. And in the multicellular organisms, we find different mode of reproduction, and that is we can have one more type, that is regeneration. Any part of the bit of the organism can able to develop a complete structure. And how this could possible? This could possible by generative cells. They have generative specialized cells, and these cells undergo proliferation, continuous division, and thus it regenerates lost part. I'll repeat, regeneration is a process. When we divide the organism, each bit will develop the part which they have lost, and that capacity could possible by regenerative cells, by proliferation, and this is known as regeneration. And even regeneration is also found in Hydra, and the other one is budding. Budding is found in Hydra. A small outgrowth is formed on the organism, and later it develops as a complete organism, and it gets detached from the parent cell, and again it develops as a free solitary organism. And thus budding helps in bringing up asexual reproduction. And the last concept among the asexual reproduction is vegetative propagation. Now, any part of the plant can develop as a new plant, that is from the root, stem, leaf. So this we can do by any part of the plant. Now, stem cuttings, hibiscus, rose, we can develop from stem cuttings. From the leaf, bryophyllum, if you just put a plant leaf at any place, there you can find 3 to 4 plantlets. Succulents easily develop from the leaf. And this is how stolon, chrysanthemum develops from the root. Stolons, more stolons develop from the roots. As a result, from the root, it makes a more plantlets. This is how vegetative propagation from the root, leaf and stem we can find among the plants. And asexual reproduction is by the formation of spore formation, and spore formation is by developing sporangia. Sporangia have a very long stalk and a spherical balloon-like structure. Within the sporangia, they have more spores. When it get matured, it get blast, and as a blast, the spores disperses, and wherever the spores falls through the air, it starts developing. This is known as asexual reproduction, commonly found in fungi. Okay, your data is still available. Your mobile data is still available. All of you clear with the concepts? Not boring? Not feeling any bore? Okay, fine, Priyanka. Okay, network is available. And data is also available. And not feeling boring because I'm not at all sharing the screen, only a audio, no video, no visual. Okay, the next concept is sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction in plants. How could sexual reproduction in plants is brought? It is brought by the flowers. The flowers has beautiful attracting media called petals. Petals are so beautiful, they attract the insects. And the flowers are bisexual and unisexual. Bisexual are the flowers which have both male and female sex organs on a same flower, and unisexual where the male flowers are separate, female flowers are separate, and which is the male reproductive part, and rhizium, anthers, which is female reproductive structure, gynoecium or pistil. So these are the two reproductive parts of the flower. Now anther produces pollen grain, and it falls on the stigma of the gynoecium, and stigma has a sugary content. They give a support for developing pollen. As a result, pollen develop pollen tube. Pollen tube enters inside the style and then reaches the ovary and enters the embryo sac. It enters embryo sac. Look at page number 45, the diagram. It enters into embryo sac. And one of the male gamete, every pollen grain has two gametes. One of the male gamete fuses with egg in the embryo sac. Other male gamete fuses with center polar nuclei. In the center, there is one more nucleus. With that, the other gamete fuses. That is polar nuclei. Now, one gamete fuses with egg. Other fuses with the polar nuclei. And hence it is called double fertilization. Double fertilization. Okay. In the center, the polar nuclei is already 2. It is already 2. It gets fused with one male gamete. And what is the number of chromosomal set? Now tell me. The polar nuclei is already 2 in number. One male gamete fuses with bipolar nuclei. Now what is the chromosomal set? Now I will give the hint. One of the male gamete fuses with the egg. Egg has N. Male gamete has N. N plus N, 2N. Okay. Clear? Now what is the chromosome set of polar nuclei? Polar nuclei. Now tell me. Okay, no one answered. I'll reveal the answer. After fusion of polar nuclei with the male gamete, the chromosomal set number is 3N. Already bipolar is 2N plus male gamete 1N. 2N plus 1, 3N. Okay, cleared? It is not in your syllabus, but it may ask in your exam, Monday exam. Okay, after fertilization, now it develops as seed. Now what is seed? Seed is considered to be future plant. What is considered to be future plant? Seed. Seed has embryo, and that embryo, when it gets moisture content, it develops and it germinates. And when it germinates, the upper part is called plumule, the basal part is called radicle. Plumule develop as shoot, radicle develop as root. This is how reproduction takes place in plants. and the reproduction takes place in animals. We know that there are two separate organisms, male is separate and female is separate in human beings. Only in the earthworms and some other organisms we find both male and female sex organs in a same segment. But in human beings they are separate. In human beings, the male reproductive structure, where they have pair of testes which develop sperms. The sperms moves into vas deferens and then enters into seminical vesicle, which mixes with the fluid secretion, and then it enters into penis and thus it is released. And in the female reproductive structure, ovary develops egg and it is collected at oviduct fallopian tube. It will wait for the sperm to reach. If the sperm enters, it gets fertilized and the fertilized get attaches to the uterus and there it starts developing as a fetus. In case there is no sperm at the oviduct, the egg waits, and if there is no sperm, it comes at the uterus. It reaches the uterus and without fertilization it doesn't retain for a long time. It will be removed along with the uterine wall, and that is known as ovulation. Removal of immature egg along with uterine wall is called ovulation. Ovulation or menstruation cycle, which takes from 3 to 5 days by the bleeding. This is how the male and female reproductive structures involve in human beings. And next is reproductive health, and it is very important in highly populated countries to have the reproductive health. Now, AIDS spreads through sexual contact. So it is very important to be very conscious about these diseases. AIDS, gonorrhea, herpes or sexually transmitting disease. So multiple partners having the relationship brings all these diseases. So it is compulsory to avoid multiple partners. And next is, now in an overpopulated countries, now having more children is I think it is not required. Now limited children is very important in such highly populated countries. Now how to control the population? For temporary controlling the population, it is possible by adopting copper tea, and for permanent solution it is by vasectomy and tubectomy. Vasectomy and tubectomy, it is the operation for male and female where completely connection of connecting sperms and egg into fallopian tube is completely disconnected by surgery, and that could possible by the surgery names are vasectomy and tubectomy. These are the two operations done for male and also female. This is male dominating countries, so males they don't have any kind of surgeries. It is only meant for females to have the surgery. Okay, so this completes reproductive system in plants and animals. Okay, cleared all of you? Okay, N is small letter, not capital N, 3N. For zygote, it is 2N. When the polar nuclear fuses with male gamete, it is 3N. Okay, remember, when egg fuses with the male gamete, it is 2n. Zygote is 2n. Only the polar nuclei, when it fuses with the another male gamete, then it results in 3n. And there is one term for that, that is triple fusion. Triple fusion means 3n fusion. Okay, it's very long. I'm just explaining since from 1 hour 45 minutes, right? And we have another 2 chapters from biology, heredity and environment, and sustainable management. 2 chapters were left. And we have chemistry and also we have physics. Okay. Okay, now I'll wind up this because I have some work. I'll wind up here. Tomorrow we'll meet sharp 6 a.m. Okay, you just intimate your friends also. Now the participation is so less, only 11 to 14 members have come for the class. Okay, you just intimate for your friends. Tomorrow morning at sharp 6 a.m. I'll start the session. Okay, now 2 chapters were left from biology, and we have chemistry and we have physics. I don't know how far I could able to complete tomorrow. Okay, meet you all soon tomorrow morning 6 a.m. and thanks for your participation. Okay, and today there is no conversation, only one way. Only I just go on repeating the concepts, but there is no involvement of you. Okay. Okay, meet you all soon tomorrow at 6 a.m. Thank you one and all.